A few months ago, I called the POCO F7 one of the best budget phones of 2025. Then the F7 landed, now we've got the F8. So the obvious question is, does the POCO F7 still make sense or has it already been sidelined? Let's unbox it, test it properly and see where it actually stands. Box is classic POCO, bold yellow, no nonsense. Inside you get the phone, SIM tool, the paperwork you'll never open, the same awful TPU case we roasted in the X7 review, and yes, a cable, but no charger. A 90 watts fast charging phone with no charger included. Industry calls that eco-friendly. Reality, more packaging, more shipping, more waste when you buy one separately. The phone itself, clean lines, premium glass and a camera bar that looks like the love child of the Pixel 9 and the iPhone 16 Pro. The Cyber Silver edition is flashy gamer bling while the black-white models stay minimal and iPhone-like. Your call. This thing feels expensive. Aluminium frame, Gorilla Glass 7i front, IP68 waterproofing. Rig it, no creaks. Easily top build quality for under $400 US. The Cyber Silver back screams Red Magic cosplay. Reflective PCB graphics, 4 screws, shiny diagonal split. It's bold, but also a fingerprint trap and awkward in public. The black-white models look way classier, closer to iPhone territory. Fingerprint reader, optical, fast, accurate. Only gripe, the back smudges if you so much as glance at it. On paper, 6.83 inches AMOLED, 120Hz, 12-bit color, HDR10+, Dolby Vision, 3200 nits peak. In practice, flagship tier, it's around 1500 nits in bright auto mode, so brighter than the Pixel 9a and close to Samsung's mid-ranges. Colors are accurate, contrast tight, no visible shift of axis. It's not LTPO, you're stuck at 60Hz when idle or 120Hz when active. Still, games run at 120Hz with no weird hiccups. Speakers, stereo hybrid, bottom and earpiece. Loud, clear mid, minimal bass, better than average but not iPhone level. Performance and gaming. So inside we got Snapdragon 8S Gen 4, Adreno 825 GPU, 12 gigs of RAM and UFS 4.1 storage. Real world use is exactly what you want. Instant app switching, smooth multitasking, AI features running without hiccups, no lag, no drama. And gaming, Call of Duty Mobile, easy peasy lemon squeezy, no surprises there. So naturally I went straight to Genshin Impact because that's the stress test. High settings, locked target FPS and honestly it holds up pretty well. Thermals do climb after about 20 to 30 minutes, but POCO 6000mm square heat pipe does its job. It gets warm, not uncomfortable, and crucially, it doesn't rely on noisy external fans like some gaming phones. And I'll say this again because it keeps proving true. If a phone passes the Genshin Impact test, it will run pretty much anything you throw at it. If you're after a cheap but generally capable gaming phone, this is absolutely one to consider. And yes, it comfortably beats my Pixel 9 here, no contest. Now the cameras, hardware first. 50 megapixel Sony IMX882 main camera, 8 megapixels ultra wide and 20 megapixel selfie cam. The main camera in daylight, sharp, plenty of details, solid dynamic range. The 2x sensor crop is clean. Beyond that, quality drops fast. Compared to Pixel 9, the look is slightly different. Stronger HDR, slightly heavier contrast and more saturation. Is it that bad? Not necessarily, I quite like it. These photos come out ready for social media, no editing required. And honestly, in good lighting, I really like the results. In low light, well, night mode pulls shadows back nicely, but grain does creep in. Still, performance is surprisingly close to Pixel levels. I think sometimes even slightly better than I expected. Ultra-wide lens. We got here soft edges, a bit overprocessed, but I've seen worse. Use it if you need it, otherwise just stick to the main camera. Again, comparing to Pixel camera, well, you'll be the judge. Selfie camera. In daylight is absolutely fine until the beauty filter kicks in. That old school cream effect, you know, the Facebook look from like 5 years ago, it's still here. Please don't overdo it, you'll regret it later, trust me. Video. Now, video matters to me because I actually film reviews on phones very often. So here you get 4K at 60 FPS, pretty decent electronic image stabilization and overall stable footage. Compared to Pixel 9, I'll let you judge from the samples, but it's not bad at all. Would I film review on POCO F7 if that was the only phone I had? Yes, I could. That says something. Ultra-wide video though, yes, that's pretty bad. Actually, again, judge from the footage. Battery and charging. So essentially we got here two battery sizes. There's a 6,500 mAh in global version and 7,550 mAh in India models. Real world use, it's about 14 to 15 hours of very active screen time, easily 2 days with lighter use. That's a proper gaming phone endurance. And charging, with the 90 watts charger, you're looking at 0 to 100% in around 44 minutes, and without it, it's about 1.5 to 2 hours. And yes, the cable matters. Software and features. So we got here Android 15 with HyperOS 2. Cleaner than old MIUI, but let's not pretend it's minimalist. Preloads include Temu, TikTok, Booking.com, etc., the usual suspects. And most of the bloatware can be disabled, thankfully. There's an update policy, 4 major Android updates and 6 years of security patches. Not too bad. That's strong for this segment, though Google and Samsung still lead with 7. AI features are everywhere. Live translations, AI erase, sky replacement. Some are useful, some feel clunky. None are deal breakers. So the verdict. The POCO F7 gets the priorities right. You're getting flagship level performance, a solid, no-nonsense build, a great display, and ridiculous battery life, all for well under $400 US or 400 British pounds. That's the part that matters. Yes, the cameras are firmly mid-range, and yes, the HyperOS is still busy. And yes, shipping a phone like this without a charger still feels a bit cheeky. But if what you care about is speed, gaming performance, thermals that don't fall apart, and endurance that just keeps going, that's very little in this price range that competes head-on with the F7. It's not trying to beat Pixel at photography or Samsung at polish, and that's fine. It cuts in the right places, not the painful ones. So no, it's not perfect, but as a value-focused performance phone, it absolutely delivers. So what do you think? Hit me up in the comments.
Family Pop TV.